Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new here. My name is Maria, or it's MJ here on YouTube. And in today's video, as you guys saw by the title, I have my Kayali Vanilla. Wow, vanilla. That's how long it's been since I bought a Kayali fragrance. But I have Kayali Invite Only Amber 23 review for you guys. And for this review, we're going to be talking about everything: longevity, rejection, compliments, pricing, and even some comparisons. The comparisons that I have are not really comparisons that I've heard that much, at least me personally. I haven't heard that much about. So if you guys are interested in seeing my review on the Amber 23 Invite Only from Kayali, then please keep on watching. Okay, so quick overview if you guys are not familiar with my channel and this is your first time stumbling across my channel. So on this channel, we do talk a lot about fragrances. Quick skim over my channel, you'll see that that's pretty much all I talk about. So Kayali is a brand that I purchased a fragrance from them, to be specific, the vanilla perfume, when the brand first launched. I was super excited about it. During that time, I really wanted just a very simple brown sugar vanilla. That's what I got. That's what it smelled like. Performance was one of the worst performing perfumes in my collection, and I ended up decluttering it. After that, the performance on that particular perfume was so bad, I just completely stopped buying from the brand. Since then, they have come out with a lot of new releases. There has been Pink Diamond, Elixir, White Musk, Deja Vu Flowers, or something like that. The Cocoa Utopia or Vanilla Utopia. There has been a lot of launches. I haven't been interested in really any of them except for one. All in all, to say the one that has genuinely really piqued my interest was Kayali Invite Only Amber. And it's because I love, obsess over sexy fragrances. They don't have to be dark. They could be florals, they could be gourmand leaning, it doesn't matter. They can even be citrus, but if they have that sex appeal, I want it, I need it. And this is a fragrance that was heavily marketed around that idea of it being a super sexy fragrance. The notes of it look decadent. It has cherry, it has honey, it has amber, it has tobacco, it even has oud. It just has this very rich, powerful notes. The marketing was amazing. Okay, so I got it. Now in my Sephora, they don't have samples there, so I do have to blind buy it. Thank God Sephora has a great return policy. I have never personally returned anything to Sephora, but I do know their return policy is pretty great. Kayali does offer the 10 ml. And it also comes in the little tiny cute bottle similar to this. But when I went to purchase it, they didn't have it, so I went for the 1.7, and this is $100. Now $100 for a 1.7 for someone that has a significantly large collection comparison to the general public is pretty fine. Personally, don't mind it. Talk to me about a year ago, I would have said that is out of my budget and that is way too much. Now I'm like $100, 1.7, not too bad, right? Okay, as long as it has good performance. So we'll get into that. Now, based on the notes, I expected this to be a sexy gourmand. I didn't expect it to be overly foodie, but I did expect it to be sweet. I was looking for something along the lines of Tom Ford Noir PERFUME with a cherry note. A little bit syrupy, just rich, heavy. Invite Only. Now, from the name, I have seen reviews and I have heard reviews. Some people caught it in the aspect of it being a soft scent. You have to come close to me. Only the ones invited closer to me are going to be able to smell it. It's more of a sensual type of scent. For me personally, on the ads and the name, the way I decided to grasp the idea is I thought it was gonna be more leaning a powerhouse perfume. Okay, maybe not beast mode, but definitely a fragrance with some presence, a perfume that leaves a nice trail, good sillage, long lasting, etc. Something similar to the vibe that Alien gives me. I put on that perfume, I enter somewhere and I know that everyone smells me. Dior Addict, the same, you get the point, right? So I was super excited for that, not only the notes, but also just the presence that I felt that went behind this perfume in general, just because my experience with Vanilla 28 was not good at all performance wise, right? So I definitely was over the top, over the moon excited for this fragrance. So let's get to how it smells so we can dive back into pricing and all that. So on first blast, y'all, this is straight booze and it is brown liquor. It is a sweet booze. It's not overly sweet at all. It actually reminds me of this whiskey that I recently had, and it had kind of like that oak barrel type of smell to it. I'm not a fan of the opening. I'm kind of getting used to it a little bit more. It took me off guard when I first smelled it just because I wasn't expecting that opening. Kayali in the back of their packaging adds, I guess, the most prominent notes, the ones that are emphasized, and it has black cherry, honey, tobacco leaf, amber, and vanilla Madagascar. So those are the notes supposedly that are emphasized in this fragrance, and to give you just like a quick overview. Opening of this fragrance is very pungent. It's, like I said, smells like whiskey. It's not as sweet. It's just a slightly sweet whiskey. I guess the most prominent thing in this fragrance would be the tobacco leaf, and it's slightly bitter, so I would say it would be like a dark chocolate. They don't specify if it's milk chocolate or dark chocolate, but assuming just on the bitterness of that opening, I would say that is dark chocolate. The cherry is slightly there, but it's not as prominent. Like if you don't know the notes, you would not know that the cherry is there. My favorite part about this fragrance is that middle. All I can say that I personally could smell was Oriental Cherry from Dossier. Oriental Cherry is the cologne dupe of Tom Ford Lost Cherry. I have seen reviews, people comparing it to Tom Ford Lost Cherry. A lot of other people also say, no, it doesn't smell like Tom Ford Lost Cherry at all. There is definitely a nuance. There are differences, but when you smell it, that's where my mind takes me. I have Dossier's Oriental Cherry on this hand. As you guys saw, I sprayed Kayali on this hand. They have already dried down on my hand. Like Oriental Cherry, it's a red maraschino, I think it's called, cherry, where it has that tartness, but there's still definitely that fruity touch. Like literally Dossier's, that's what it smells like. It has that almondy touch. It's so good, guys. Like I'm so obsessed. Now this one has, the rose is not prominent, but it does add a slight floral touch, but it's definitely leaning more gourmand. But the cherry in here is definitely darker. It's definitely more of a dark cherry. It's not as sweet as the one here. It's not as fruity as the one here. It's definitely more of a bitter, slightly sweet cherry, a cherry that is not ripe. And it has that cinnamon touch. I think the middle part of this perfume is so sexy. It's so enticing, it's so sensual, it's so feminine. It's just, it's rich. Now, the base notes of this fragrance are amber, oud, vanilla, benzoin, patchouli, sandalwood, musk, and cypriol oil. The dry down of this fragrance transforms. That sexy middle smell that I really enjoy mellows down and it transforms and it becomes darker. This perfume starts reminding me of other things. It starts reminding me of other things. No fragrance in particular. A lot of people compare it to Angel's Share. Honestly, I had Angel's Share. I got rid of it, but I still do have a decant because I wanted to compare it to this one. I don't think they smell the same. I really don't. The dry down of this fragrance starts smelling more cinnamon-y, more cinnamon-ish. Okay, you know what I mean, okay? And it's unisex leaning masculine. One thing to note is the oud in here on my skin is fine. I think this is a pretty good beginner oud for people that don't care for oud because it's not an oud heavy fragrance. Despite the fact that it has synthetic oud and real oud, it's not a heavy oud fragrance. There's a stench in this perfume in the very, very dry down, and it's actually not on my skin. I came to realize it's more on my clothes. I spray everything. I spray my hair, I spray my skin, I spray my clothes, I spray everything. I guess my clothes just grabs to the oud, and there's this light stench, and it's not heavy, but I do get little whiffs of it if like I move. It's like a little funky. Longevity. I apply this perfume around 7:30 a.m. I get off from work at 5. I would say that from 7:30 to 6 It stayed on me. Actually, it had pretty good longevity. You do the math there, but it was never loud. And I actually did get a compliment from someone. It was a coworker of mine. She was in very close proximity to me. I would say about here. We were talking and she was like, "You smell really good." And I said, "Oh, really? Oh, wow. You could smell it." And it's a perfume that I noticed that the name is, I guess I grabbed it wrong. To me, it was a perfume that I thought would have some sort of presence, because by the name Invite Only, I thought that it's a special fragrance for a special occasion. For those VIP people that are only invited to a very special event. So to a very special event, you want a fragrance with some sort of presence. So that's why I thought that it was going to be a very powerful perfume. The way that it performed, it is a fragrance that it is closer to you, and it is for those people that you only decide to invite close to you. It is a fragrance that lasts a long time, but it stays within your bubble. No one probably 6 feet from you is going to be able to smell it. They definitely do have to be in close proximity to you. How do I feel about that? I don't feel so great for me personally, just because I feel like it's a fragrance that had a lot of potential with those decadent notes, those heavy notes. I just don't care for it to be a comforting scent. I actually do not find it sexy at all. I think it's actually more of a comforting scent, a sweater weather type of perfume. I made someone smell it, not the person that complimented me, but someone else. They smelled it and they said that it smelled like eggnog. They were like, "Oh wow, this is a perfume that I would like to smell around or wear on me." The person was a guy by a fireplace, and I was like, right? And when he said eggnog, this is one comparison that I smelled, and to me it smelled like Zara Rich, Warm and Addictive. Rich, Warm and Addictive has a coconutty tobacco leaf smell. That's a honey fragrance as well. I've also said that that perfume reminds me of my grandma when we make eggnog and we add rum to our eggnog, and that's what it smells like. It just gives me holiday spirits, and it just smells like that. So it was super interesting that my friend said that this perfume literally smells like eggnog on him, and that was the dry down because I had been wearing that perfume for a couple of hours at that point. So that was an interesting comparison from someone that is not into perfumes like that, but they got the same idea that I did. And Zara Rich, Warm and Addictive, there is definitely a difference of pricing to Amber Invite Only. Now I also made my cousin, which is a male, smell it, and I want to say that it was probably around 9 or 10 when he smelled my perfume. I do want to add that I retouched again around 6 something prior to going to my cousin's house. He smelled it and he said, "Oh wow, that smells really good." So all in all, this is my opinion. I think it's a unique perfume. I think it smells different than designer fragrances. I think that this is a perfume that smells a lot more unique. I would say that it's more niche leaning, whereas Vanilla 28, which is kind of just generic Bath and Body Works, which is fine because that's literally what I was looking for, just a simple vanilla, but it's kind of just boring-ish. And this perfume, I think, is very unique. The opening, the mid, and the dry down are completely different. Oh, I want to add too that dry down of this fragrance reminded me of Parfums de Marly Harriet. Harriet, or I should say the clone of Harriet as well. I've smelled Harriet from Parfums de Marly, but I've also had a clone from Alexandria Fragrances. And Alexandria Fragrances has this coconutty, like this dry coconutty smell to it, similar to Zara Rich, Warm and Addictive. And the dry down smelled like Harriet. So all those fragrances have similar components. If you've never smelled any of the fragrances that I mentioned, I think you're going to be very intrigued by this perfume because it's different. However, for me personally, I already have perfumes in my collection that give me a similar vibe, perform better, and have similar nuances to this perfume. So in my collection, this particular perfume is very redundant. I do not need it. I don't think it's a bad perfume, but for my collection, I just don't simply need it. It's just redundant, like I said. $100 for a 1.7 I don't think is that bad, especially for a perfume that smells different. And it lasted very well. I would say that it has very good long lasting power. But performance, it was definitely an invite only in my close circle. It is not a powerhouse. I would say that it is soft, leaning moderate. I did overspray a lot. For a perfume that I oversprayed that much, I think that's what allowed it to last that long. But for a perfume that I sprayed that much, like I drenched myself in it, it should have, you know, been at least 6 feet. So that's what I'm gonna say to that. There is another perfume that also kind of reminds me of this one. Let me show it to you guys. And it's Absolution Parfum from Navitas Parfum. Now this has toffee, has green apple. It has, this one smells so good, y'all. This is a really good, cheap fragrance. I believe it's like $60 when they have their sale or something like that. But it's definitely less than $100. And this does not have cherry listed as a note, supposedly, but to me, it smells like cherry. I don't know what it is, what combination in the notes that gives it that smell, but it has a cherry accord. And I would say that they're going for the same similar vibe, but this is a perfume that actually, it's not a powerhouse, but it's a perfume with a presence in the aspect that it has a very nice sillage and it has a nice trail. I think this is a perfume that no one will ever smell on me unless you're super close to me. And for that, for these decadent notes, I prefer something else like Kenzo Flower L'Elixir. That's just my personal preference though. All in all, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because it's unique in hindsight. Not to me personally, but in hindsight, it's unique. It lasted very well. It didn't project as much as I wanted it to. And I really wonder what it is that gives it that boozy quality. It's not as boozy as Angel's Share, I would say, because that booziness leaves off. It's literally just in the opening. But there is this woody booziness for sure. Was I disappointed? I kind of was. I just expected something, I don't know, just kind of more exciting, honestly. I think I would have been more excited if all the comparisons that I mentioned, I hadn't smelled before and it projected more. Now, I also want to mention that this category of fragrance to me is very Tom Ford-esque. Very Tom Ford-esque. I would say that this performance is probably leaning like Tom Ford Lost Cherry. A lot of people have performance issues with that one. I've heard that it lasts a long time on people, but it just doesn't project as much as you would want it to, and for the price, etc. So it's a lot cheaper than a Tom Ford. But there are other perfumes within Tom Ford that have that sexy quality, like Tom Ford Noir Parfum. That is a beautiful fragrance that you can wear to an invite-only event. And it has that gourmand quality. If you want a cherry touch on top, you can add Oriental Cherry from Dossier. You know what I mean? So I guess there's ways around it. So in my collection is kind of redundant and it's not as sexy as I would have wanted it to. It's definitely more comforting than anything. But that's pretty much it for today's video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave down below your comments, questions, concerns, and all that. You guys know what to do. Also going to be announcing the giveaway in the top comment of this video. And as always, I hope you guys have a beautiful and wonderful and blessed day. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.